Test, test, test. Test, test, test. Okay, is my mic good? Is my mic good? Is my mic good? Is my mic good? Alright, so welcome back in Nine World Myth, Lore, Aliens, and more. And today I'm going to talk about this classic steampunk film, Ghost in the Shell. And this thing came out, this is like 1995. But, like, I mean, this is like at the height of when steampunk was really starting to break down. So I want to get into the film. I want to talk about, like, overall, it's one of the more powerful opening, like, 7 minutes I've seen in any movie, right? I mean, to me, just being real. So I want to talk a little bit about, like, the whole setup, like, what makes this film so impactful. So, coming out 1995, and this really was a global phenomenon. So the director, Mamoru Oshii, if I'm saying this correctly, combines with Masamune Shirow, who was the original manga author, right? And this is at a time, not that long ago. We really have to put historical context behind things. 95, I think I had just graduated college in like 94. Wait. 90. Yeah, I was in college during this time. Just like 95. I think I graduated in 96. 95, 96 is when I graduated. So this is just coming out, during my, like, some of my formative, like, college years, right? So I was really, oh man, come on with this thing, man. Nobody cares. Okay, sorry about that. So this is at a time when the internet is still just jumping off. The internet is absolutely in its infancy right now. So the whole idea of like what this film was, like, we're going through a technological change, and this is when it was a lot harder to kind of get access to like a Korean or Japanese content. It was very rare. Like, I was in anime kind of early on. I started getting into like Ninja Scrolls, Fist of, but it was very difficult to get your hands on some anime at this time. So when this comes out, like, this is shocking. This is like totally new. At least for larger audiences, right? This is still, a different style of art. Like, we're really, like, now we embrace manga so hard that it's just part of culture, or for a big part of people. Manga is just culture now. So we don't really think about a time when it didn't exist. So this is coming in at a time where manga's really getting established, and so as an audience, it's really growing. It's really, really growing. So overall, this film is about AI. I mean, it really is. It's kind of AI before AI really became a big thing. Now, obviously, we had seen like the Terminators and Sarah Connors, where they kind of touched on AI, but this one goes into a whole different like genre of what AI is. And if we look at, so let's get the intent. Let's get the intent behind this. So the guys who created this, right? Oshii literally says that humans do not fear machines. Humans fear losing their humanity, right? This is kind of what his take on it is. This is the original writer, or excuse me, this is the director. This is the director's take on it. The writer said, when technology becomes our body, the definition of life changes. So he's kind of hinting that, the writer at least, is kind of hinting that humans become more programmable. And that's kind of what they fear, right? So let's talk about this intro. Like, this intro, like, you start off with this imagery here, right? And this is kind of blurry, like kind of a techie kind of thing as you're getting into the scene. And you get a little bit of that image as, you're like, and you hear all the military talk behind it. So you're not quite sure what's going on, but obviously this is the scene where we're going to open up with this assassination. Not too many times you get an opening scene is the assassination, and there's a big reason to why that becomes the case, right? So it starts off giving us this view of what is Tokyo at this time. And, you see Tokyo, it's always defined by its cityscape, by its landscape. Tokyo's big city. And then we finally start seeing like this overall view, and while we're hearing this accompanying sound, and then we get to see her, right? And the her that we're talking about is major, and she would be major, extremely major, in this entire series, right? Because she's our protagonist. Now, this is an interesting thing, because the way they show her here, and this will matter later, is her as a weapon, and this is going to be central to the story. Because this is really about our first time looking at any type of AI, any type of robots, and questioning that. So this is a lot. This isn't about whether AI, comes alive. It's like, at what point is there a soul? That's really what it's questioning. It, like, 100%. So this is the first time we've had a film that took on all these different topics. Like, there's politics. Like, in whenever we see these like kind of anime or steampunk specific representations of Japan or Japanese culture, it is always the political system is up front, and that doesn't shy away. So we're going to deal with a lot of stuff, but we're still talking about AI and the human soul. At what point are you a living creature? At what point are you just a weapon? So they introduce her as a weapon in this scene, and what you're most notable about this scene is right off the bat you get this sense of isolation from her. She's sitting on this dangerous ledge high up above the city, and she has like zero reaction to it at all. She's cool as a cucumber, as they like to say, right? As the OGs like to say. And you can see this is our first chance getting a no major, and we're starting to see her, and she's just very cool character. She is casually observing. Now this is where our first insight into she might be something special, and it's in this scene. This is her view, so this is her POV, and she's looking at the people that would be her targets, and so she's got this infrared sight. So already I know she's different than me, right? She's different than us. She's not a typical human in that regard, and it gets cooler. So she's communicating with her team, and we start to get this sense that it's a larger kind of organization that she's with. Thank you for everyone stopping in, Euphoria, Regina, everyone for stopping in as we kind of get into this breakdown. So I'm going to fully break it down for you, right? It's what I'm going to go through. So we see her in this light, and this is another like important image, her disconnecting, right? She talks about there's some noise in her brain, and she says it's probably a loose wire. So she's fully conscious. She's very self-aware of what she is. So there's no hiding it at all. Now this is where it gets to be, very, very decidedly different, because she has to strip herself completely nude. And that seems like just an anime boy fantasy that they always want to make, chicks as nude as possible for some reason. But this is actually saying a lot more. Again, this is her establishing that she's not actually a human. So the nudity doesn't even matter at all, right? And this is going to matter why they're setting all this stuff up. And for a lot of us in the States, this is like your first real hardcore introduction into steampunk. Now, years back, Akira come out, and Akira was one of the first films I'd ever seen, was Akira. So that kind of introduced into the whole steampunk, and we got to see Neo Tokyo. So to me, this felt like a continuation of Neo Tokyo. So it does get that continuity overall with the genre, right? Okay, so now she's ready. She's full mode. She's scoping out the scene. And so we get this image of where she's going to be targeting. This is in the middle of broad daylight. She's planning an assassination, and you've got all this heavy traffic going on. But we see here that she's got a team. She's got a whole organization that's behind her. So they're watching everything that she does. But now it's time for her to actually get it done. So in this scene right here, and this is another one of those staggering moments, if we can really see it here, where she steps off the ledge. Then stepping off the ledge means a lot. This strips away a lot of her human frailty. So obviously we start identifying someone as differently when we see them, ignore human emotion. So she jumps off this ledge, and it's a free fall. It's a free fall. But she's absolutely, and you can see the height. So all this is building up this sense of tension. We're starting to figure her out. This is live and direct that we're getting to know somebody. We still don't know a lot about the movie yet. They still haven't really done an intro. It starts off like this. And this is a technique that I think the directors use that is, it's very powerful technique. So her kind of floating through the air, right? This is our girl right here. She's just kind of floating through the air. She's calm. She sees everything. And we're highly anticipating what's going to happen next, all right? So then this takes us inside of like, what are we dealing? What is she dealing with? And the next scenes we get this police force. So she's working in tandem, or this police force is actually pursuing the same corrupt politicians. Politicians in the steampunk universe, in my estimation, have been a central character. There's always this battle for, to get the politicians to actually be righteous in terms of dealing with the people. So this is why this is such an important thing. So we see this kind of godfather, boss figure, who's just kind of he's relying on the system, diplomatic immunity, right? His force opens fire on the police, and you can see him face to face with the local authorities, right? And this is your jerk right here on my right hand side here. This is the criminal here, and on this side we have the face of the authority. So he's fully facing this guy, and you can see this is classic, boss energy right here. The subtleties of the armed guards, the subtleties of the fish tank. I can't remember what the name of that fish is, but it's a fighting fish. It's a very aggressive fish. So this is kind of laying out the full, like, man, you might be dealing with the Yakuza type of scenario, right? And he's going to find himself to be completely resistant. So when this guy comes in and taking him, he hits him with paperwork. So this is kind of setting up the scene and talking about like the political corruption that is just rife in the city. And this is what's going on. And then how does she end it? So it's a bad situation. She takes care of it right here. Bullet to the dome, right? Boom. It's all done. And they quickly identify her. But you know what? She's already ghosting the scene. She's already ghosting in the shell in the scene. So, and this is a very powerful scene because even the characters live are stunned by her. As they're watching her diminish, right? You can see the look on his face. And they're like, damn, look at the technology that she's got. As she's slowly disappearing right before our eyes. That's the whole trick. This is a whole different layer of technology. So this kind of takes us into what the series is. And again, it's a very powerful way to start a series because visually it's very impactful. You get right to the core of what's going on. But that's the sub story. The police, the political corruption is actually the sub story. This is always running in the background, right? They're always dealing with this, so it doesn't become the highlight of the film. They can give you that mask that this is what they're talking about, but what they're really talking about is the human soul. The whole story is about this ghost in the shell, meaning this spirit or this consciousness or even, dare I say, a soul within this structure. So this is really what the story is all about. And this is where I feel like it gets a lot more impactful. So the opening scene, we get the political assassination, which frames the character Major as a weapon. This is the first thing that we see. And this weaponization of the deep state. We get her invisibility cloaking, where this kind of sets the stage that identity is optional. And she has this digital autonomy that it's really going to hide her. Now, this is before we get into the impactful scenes. And now I'm going to talk about where I really think the meat of what came out of this is. So post this opening scene, we actually then get a legitimate, hey, my dog's, hey, what's going on, homie? Yeah, I got a nice little dog here. Gonna pet my dog real quick. What up, day boy? Thanks for stopping in. Yeah, my little dog's joining me on my live stream, but he doesn't have anything to say. So let me get back to it. So this is the scene that I think is the most powerful part of it, is the actual intro. And it does a lot. So we're probably 5 minutes, 6 minutes in before we do any intro. And that's kind of unheard of, right? So that's very rare that it's done, and it's done with such a powerful effect. Because what they want to do first is establish who Major is. They want you to see Major as a weapon first, that how she's being used, that she casts off like the restrictions of being human. So first, her modesty, right? She's not afraid of just being butt ass naked out there in the streets. This is not an issue at all. You see her sitting high above the skyscrapers on this ledge, so she has no fear. Then when she steps off of it and we start seeing all the technologies that she's got, and when she kills this guy, right? Let's remember, if I can find that image here, when she murks this guy, it's a flawless, right? She's flawless. This is one shot kill at distance in a room where he's heavily guarded, right? So it's also telling us about her level of expertise. So not only at this point am I already seeing her as a machine, that's what I see her as. I see her not as being human and this efficient killer. So obviously it's going to be a lot harder for me to kind of see her as a person. So this is where the conflict is when they establish her birth. And this is an epic scene because you've got this incredible music going in the background, and you've got these images of what her creation process really is, right? So this is where it gets, I think, the deepest and most meaningful part of the film. And it's all through strategy. How they do the narrations, the kind of silence. Seeing her in this process at every single stage of it, right? Like the development of the brain. That she is this programmed creature. How they're putting the body together. And it's this very deliberately slow process with the music in the back that almost makes it ritualistic. In fact, I would dare to say that the pacing of the music, the pacing of the edits, make it a ritualistic ceremony. What we're witnessing right now in real time is a birth. This is a birth. But this isn't the same type of birth that we're used to. This is the new birth based on this technology. So we literally see every single cell where she is being created as this whole adult. And the images are very impactful because it's all so detailed. And it's this long process. And I'm telling you guys, when you go and watch this film, right, again, Ghost in the Shell, the OG one, 1995, you're going to feel a sense of all this stuff. When we do Terminator and we do other AI, we never see this part of the, like, we see the Terminators like assembly line. And that's significant for a reason, because they are mass produced creatures. And that's something that we really lock into when we talk about the Terminators. Her creation, major creation, is done as an individual act. Now we know this is rinse, wash, and repeat, but we haven't seen it as intimately this for a character that we've already got some attachment to. Now, when I say attachment, I'm kind of losing it in kind of a loose term, because we see this attachment to her before we even know what side she's on or who we actually should be rooting for. So that's kind of a tactic there that the director is forcing us to kind of make a decision right off the bat. And we're typically not that comfortable with that. But here she is. And now we're kind of reversing her creation. Let's look at what her creation is, because they've been establishing she ain't human, right? They not like us, right? Isn't that what Kendrick said? So we see her fully going through this process. Each step, she's being observed. This is important. Her body is physically being manufactured. If we strip down, she's clearly not a human. She's clearly just a shell. And then more importantly, they get into visually showing kind of the programming part. At least that's what I draw of it. This is the physical body, and this part represents what's going on internally, the programming that comes along with her. So we're not creating just a fully sentient being. We're creating a product, and she has to go through every step. Now, at each step, they kind of revel in the nudity of this character. And again, I don't feel like it's in the traditional, like, you know, we're anime guys, so we just got to show a bunch of nudity, right? I don't think it gets that. I think this is still, and we're stripping out her human side. We're leaving her as vulnerable as possible, at least in this regard, because she doesn't care. She's still this weapon that can, you know, handle business anytime she needs. So she has no actual fear of us, but we have this fear of her, and we're revealing it more and more. And this is kind of the classic paradox of humans and creating AI, or AI that have bodies that are even more human. And I'm going to talk about another AI. If you remember, I think it's David in Alien Covenant. And he has a conversation with the doctor. I can't remember, the one who gets infected. And it's all about why humans create AI. And he really doesn't give him a good answer. What he says is, because we can, right? But why do we make them look like us? Like, for her to be in the way that she functions, she's a hidden assassin who strikes from a distance. She's not like a spy. She isn't an infiltration model. Like we understood in the Terminators why you look like humans, because you're an infiltration killer. She's not that. So the fact that they make her look like that, the fact that they assign her a gender, a look, and it's like every time they make, like, we've never seen scientists make an ugly AI, right? That never happens. For some reason, all the female AI always comes out as baseline attractiveness, right? So this is kind of what it is. So they're kind of setting you up in that, and they know that, and that's a little bit of the nudity. But then you see this kind of like breaking of the skin. Now the breaking of the flesh, and I think this occurs, we're like at 7:30 in the movie, and we see this. What's up, Ray? We see this like breaking of the flesh, and again, this is for a lot of us. This is steampunk's like main intro into like RTVs. Is this whole breaking of the flesh, this whole creation scene. So the breaking of the flesh, the programming of the brain. This is what we're established now as kind of the drivers for her character. This is what we see her as. She is this very powerful weapon, and that is really her identity. So as we get further into the series, right, like again, this is the most impactful opening scene I've seen, and you'll feel it. It's a lot of it is in how the music plays in the background. A lot of it is really good pacing. But this is the crux of establishing who she is. And I'm telling you guys, when she's finally done, I'll try to show this image. I don't want to show too much of the nudity here because I don't want to get issues. But you see what they give her. You know goddamn well that they could have made an assassination bot that didn't have to look like this. But they do it all the time. So again, they're playing with your sense of wanting to show some attractiveness, but yet show her as not human at the same time, which I think says a lot more about us. Why we want to see that, or why we're more attracted to this imagery. So finally we get her on the scene, right? So we've seen her violence, and we've seen like groundbreaking violence early on in the film. It's going to be very bloody. You're going to see some assassinations. You're going to see some noodles get exposed. You're going to see, the political corruption. But then our story really lands right here. And this is what the entire story would really focus on, is at what point do we create this intelligence and give them all this experience, all this, real-time experience. At what point does that start to become something else? Or will it ever be that? Is the consciousness that exists there a consciousness like we would describe ourselves, right? Or we would think about other humans? And I think the answer is definitively no, right? I think we kind of are getting that, Wait, hang on. I'm just trying to get this screen up here. I didn't realize kind of cutting off a little bit for the TikTok audience. But this is kind of where we're going with this imagery. And this is really one of the earliest examples of like really kind of examining what we think AI, or at the time, what we thought AI would be at this time. Again, this is Tokyo, and again, this is always a modern sense. And everything about her kind of belies being human, right? Like her authority, her calmness, her kind of foreshadowing. So we're given everything that is anti-human in a lot of ways. She looks human, she doesn't act human. Those are your first kind of visual indicators. But then we go from this assassination, which is death, to production, this assembly line birth. And it's a birth that's almost not a birth, right? It's a weapon. It's production, right? We see it as birth, like visually, it comes across as birth. I guess that's even a point that I'm still kind of torn on myself. I even labeled it as a birth scene, but what it really is production. This is a production line, and from the director's standpoint, Oshii, what he says, humans don't make life anymore; they manufacture purpose. And that's symbolically what she is. And so this whole scene's like creation on steroids, right? This is her purpose. This is Major's purpose. Her purpose becomes before any identity. But that would be the problem. Like, the level of technology is going to create this. Now, when we talk about the music, and when you get to this scene, there's no dialogue in this long intro scene, but this very haunting music that was composed by Kenji Kawai. And this is actually based on a very ancient, like, Shinto wedding fertility chant. So they're going deep, deep, deep into their culture, right? This is, again, Japan. They're going deep into their actual culture to put this scene together. And it's sung in an archaic Japanese language style. So again, this is, you're seeing on the screen all this technology, all this, advancement. We see every single part of it. But the audio represents marriage. The audio represents birth, and it represents the union of spirits. That is not by accident, because we see cold machines, we see plastic flesh, we see a woman who's being built for violence, and the contradiction is that it's still kind of a holy birth, that it makes it over this idea of a holy birth, over this idea musically or vibrationally of the sacred act of creating life. So it makes this entire process a bit more factory-made blasphemy is what it is. And there should be an emotional backlash. So like, it creates an emotional backlash that we're not even consciously aware of. It's like I should be celebrating life when I see the scene, but instead what I'm watching is that a weapon is getting its certification. How far was her creation process before she's actually out there in the streets taking human lives? We're not sure. I'm sure the film does reveal it. But this is essentially what we get. This massive contradiction of creation and death all wrapped into one. the idea of a consciousness without a soul. And again, the directors, giving us this high level conflict between advancements in technology and at the core still wanting to, thrive with ancient cultural traditions. So this sacred ritual in this absolutely profane fashion that it goes down in. So none of that is lost. So to me, this is at the height of, getting rolling steampunk out and anime out to a larger audience. And I think from this point, 95 on, we just see an acceleration in this genre. And I think it's so timely because this is 95 and we're already talking about what AI would be doing. Now, probably all of us use AI in some format on your phone, on your laptop, whatever it is, you're using AI, to jazz up your resume. So we've embraced AI despite all the structural stories from our past telling us that this is going to create some kind of conflict. Whether this manifests or not, I don't really know yet, but I think we see all the writing on the wall. And if we compare it to other AI, we always give AI purposes that are not strictly wired into what we program. That there's something about the programming process that for some beings that are starting to be self-aware, they challenge it right off the bat. And that's what we see. And this is where the walls of AI really, really start to break down. So I just wanted to get in and do a live and just kind of talk about this. I appreciate you guys stopping in. If you enjoy the channel, if you enjoy these type of kind of psychological breakdowns, especially from a filmmaking perspective, that's what I'm all about. So, go on, like and subscribe to the channel. I do longer breakouts on YouTube, but I'll cut this up into some shorts. So if you're just kind of, doing your scroll throughout the day, you'll be able to get these in kind of short bursts if you didn't catch the whole thing. But I'm usually on about this time. It's 7 a.m. my time, and I usually go roughly for, about a half an hour, just to kind of get the day started and then kind of work throughout it. So I'm going to be working on some more stuff today, get out in the streets a little bit. But I just wanted to kind of, log in, this was a project that had been kind of sitting on my mind just in like I said, I remember the first time watching it, and I've watched this intro scene like several times, and it's an incredible scene. It's very powerful. Would love to do a live stream, just kind of break that down while we watch it together. But, copyrights and all that stuff gets a little dicey. So we're here. I got this done for you guys. I'm going to log off here. But I definitely want to direct you guys on to the channel, let you know what I'm going to be talking about in general. For you guys who have stopped in, if you're still around, give me some suggestions. What do you think the next intro, if you're into like this mythological look at, some of your favorite films. Yesterday we did the fight scene in They Live, like the classic sci-fi film, and that was telling us a lot about American culture during the 80s. So for that, we get to talk about the fight scene, talk about aliens, but we can talk about how Reaganomics and all those things that were coming on during my era. Again, you're getting this from a firmly Gen X guy, right? Born in 72, so I've seen and kind of experienced like the films that we're talking about. And I remember watching this live without any input on what I was gonna be seeing or any direction, and just like experience it. And it was a great experience, and I hope that my direction can give you guys a little more insight, so as you're watching it you can kind of pick up on some of the things that I think the director, the writer were really wanting to convey. So let's look forward to kind of getting into some deeper dives into some films and some classic characters. So I did some comic book characters recently as well. So at any rate, I'm about to sign off. I'm hitting my time limit for the day. I'm going to get the rest of my day going. All blessings to you guys. Kill it. If you're out fishing today, I hope you catch a whale.